Hey guys, welcome back for part 2 of the General d'Armée replay of the Battle of Quatre Bras. Just a bit of housekeeping before we start. Some people have asked a little bit about the details of how this game, General d'Armée, is played. First, I'll just say I think it's a fantastic set of rules for the Napoleonic period. You'll see as we play through, the game's broken down into certain phases within the turn. The first thing that happens is you have to work out how many ADCs are available to each side. Now, generally speaking, and this is just a rough rule of thumb, for every brigade you have, you'll get one aide-de-camp. But then you have to roll to see if they're available. On a roll of 3+, you have an ADC for that brigade. If you don't have an ADC, if you roll a 1 or 2, then you don't get it. So you might have 6 brigades and get all 6 ADCs, or you might get none. But generally speaking, you can look forward to getting at least 3 or 4. Once you've discovered how many ADCs you have, you then put your ADCs on taskings. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of different taskings that you can have. You can something as simple as a brigade attachment, which just enables your ADC to have a re-roll if for when that brigade rolls for it to see if it's going to follow orders or obey commands. Once you've allocated your ADCs, you then roll for each brigade. On a roll of 3+, the brigade is following orders. 1 or 2, and the brigade is hesitant. Depending on how many hesitant brigades you have, that will result in a negative modifier to your army's command initiative. And from that point on, you then, the side that has the initiative will be the phasing side. The phasing player will then declare charges, and the non-phasing player then declares charges. You then conduct the charges, and that's a pretty simple chart that you follow through in regards to conducting charges. Once the charges have been conducted, it gets to the point where they're about to have melees, but then the melee phase is paused. Your next thing you do is movement, phasing player, non-phasing player. You then have firing, phasing player, non-phasing player, and then you conduct the melees. And if there's a second round, then you have another second round of melee, and that ends the turn, and then you repeat the process all over again. The only other thing to mention today before we start is that Rowan is being confined. He is not sick. It's just the fact that he works in an environment where he's been exposed to some people who are, and so as a consequence, he's been put on lockdown. So we're going to play this game remotely. We will play the game using social media, Messenger predominantly. I won't go into too much details, but you'll see how we do it during this episode, so it should be interesting. So let's get it on. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Had to alter the position of some of these Brunswickers because the skirmish line was too bunched up. There have to be at least a half base width between each of the bases. So we've done that. As a consequence, the avant-garde are moored in this area here, and you've got a skirmish unit there, light infantry unit there, light infantry unit there, and you've got these light infantry back here with 2 skirmishers and a line beside them. And then you can see from here the rest of the battlefield, and nothing's changed from when we left it at the end of turn 4. Now we're at the beginning of turn 5. Now we just rolled for our ADC availability. The French got 3 from 6, and the Allies got 4 from 6. So, what do we do with them? How are we going to allocate our ADCs? Rowan allocated 2 to an artillery assault plus a brigade attachment to Saxe-Weimar, and his 4th one he gave to Pack. And nobody else got an attachment. Consequently, all the brigades passed their re-rolls, passed their orders, except for the Brunswick Light Infantry Brigade went hesitant. and the Brunswick Infantry Brigade Line Infantry went brigade hesitant. So both Brunswick foot or infantry brigades have gone hesitant, but everybody else is obeying orders. For the French, I gave one re-roll to Jerome for because he's on an infantry assault, and that said, even if he goes hesitant, the infantry assault doesn't come off, but they'll just be standing there milling around. So they've got one. They passed. I gave another one, a brigade attachment to Wathier's Lancers, and they initially failed, but then they passed. Hubert's Chasseurs passed. I gave a re-roll to Soy's Brigade. They passed. The Artillery Brigade passed. Campy's Brigade passed, and Brachul's Brigade passed. So all the French brigades are obeying orders. So it was -2 to Rowan's command initiative roll, and the result was Rowan rolled a 9, -2 to 7, and the French rolled a 7. So rolled a 9. So yeah, the French now have the advantage in regards to this phase, and they will move. First. So charge declarations. That's the next thing on the list. Okay, so we're up to the charge phase. The French have the initiative, so they move first. So I'm going to launch a charge with this brigade. This brigade here, because they're on infantry assault, I can launch a supported charge. So this battalion from the 2nd Light Infantry will charge forward, supported by this battalion, and hopefully this battalion. And then also I can launch a single battalion charge from any other brigade. So this battalion, the 2nd Light Infantry, 1st Battalion, 2nd Light Infantry, they will charge towards these guys here as well. Actually, it won't be a supported charge, it will just be a charge. Okay, so the charge phase played out, and this is how it worked. This battalion from Jerome's brigade and this battalion from Soy's brigade charged forward, rolled their 2d6. They initially got a grand total of 9, which went up to 10 because they were because these guys are veterans. These guys rolled a neat 10. The Nassaus rolled a grand total of 7, but then re-rolled one of their dice because they've got a support from this Nassau battalion here, and that one, sorry, it was a 3 initially, actually. It was 6 and 3, so it was 9. They re-rolled that, and that went up to 11. Because I've got 2 battalions involved, I decided to roll this one because I've got a support from here, and that went down to a 1. But I get to keep the better of the 2 because it's a multiple unit attack. So we step with a 10. So it was defeated by 1. So both of these columns halted and fired 1 CD, inflicting 1 casualty on the Nassaus. So that was the charge phase. So now we move on to the maneuver phase. In Jerome's brigade, these both battalions have formed line. These 2 battalions have moved up. This battalion has moved up also. Actually, they can't form line because they were part of the supporting charge, so no forming line for them. Allow me to fix that, guys, because they charged, and I'm pretty sure if they charge, they can't change into line. I don't think that's permissible. The cavalry have come across the stream. The foot artillery, the 12-pounders, have moved up, as has the horse artillery. Hubert's chasseurs are crossing the stream. Foy's brigade is continuing across the stream. It's slow going. The skirmish screen has moved off to cover the left flank and front of Soy's brigade. Let's now have a look further around to this side of the table now. Campers brigades simply sidestep somewhat, make clear a better line of fire for this for the artillery here. The skirmishers are still out the front, doing what skirmishers do, and then obviously we come to Bashou's brigade, and Bashou's brigade is one battalion in the woods together with the skirmish screen and the rest hiding behind this hill here. So that's movement for the French. Now let's go on to the Allied movement. Okay, so the Allied movement consisted of the Brunswickers could do nothing because they were hesitant. The Dutch Belgians, they prolonged their battery forward, but the rest of them just sidestepped, so moved more to the flank. Merlin's cavalry sent one. The dragoons, the light dragoons under Merlin are heading off in this direction, and they're leaving behind the hussars. Okay, that's them. Pax brigades deployed into line with 3 battalions up and 1 in reserve, and the Nassaus sidestepped this rear battalion here so it could provide rear support for both of these battalions, and that is all she wrote. So now we're going to move on to firing. So now will be a good time to show exactly how we're playing this game remotely. So I'm using my little iPad here to video chat with Rowan so he can see what's going on here. I tell him what I've done and I show what I've done in my move, and then I say to him, okay, Rowan, what do you want to do? And I point to units. He tells me where he wants them to move. I move them there, and that's it. All the dice rolling goes on at my end. I use his dice that he's left here. I just roll them for him, and he can see what the results are. I roll my dice, he can see what the results are. And so that's how we've been playing it remotely. But you'll see it better in this turn, or this phase of the turn. So, yeah. So, yeah, we'll start doing the shooting. I shoot first because I got the initiative, then you shoot. And then, so... That's pretty fair? Yeah, it'll work. It'll work. All right. Okay, so let's start. We'll start off from over this flank, and we'll work our way around. Yep. All right. So I've got skirmishers here, 3 and 3. So those 3 skirmishers will shoot at that line, and these 3 skirmishers will shoot at the battery. So 3 skirmishers gives me. Let me check. Is it 2 or 3 CDs, or 1 or 2? It'll be 2. I'm pretty sure it's 2 CDs. So if your skirmish screen, it consists of 3 guys, or 3 bases of skirmishers. Yep. Skirmish size, 3 to 4 is, sorry, it's 3. So standard skirmish screen. Okay. Yeah. So 3 to 4 to get 3. So these 3 shooting at that battery, shooting with, yeah, so it's just 5s or 6s. And I've got 1 hit. So 1 hit on them. And then this skirmish screen here, shooting at the line. Again, 5s or 6s. No hits. They're fired, so they can't fire. Okay, 2 skirmishers here, shooting at your skirmishers. So that's 1 CD. Nothing. Okay, 4 skirmishers here, shooting at the garrison. So that'll be, we said 3 CDs, didn't we? Yep.
You're -2.
Oh, that's right. -2. So 1. 1 CD shooting into there. Nothing. Alrighty. So, moving right along. Okay. Okay, now. Yeah, we did them. This skirmish screen shooting at them. That's just 1 dice again. Because it's 4 bases generate.
3.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 bases generate 3. But I'm shooting at Garrison, so it drops me to 1. So these skirmishers shooting at your Garrison. Nothing. Okay, now 2 batteries. This one and this one, they're both firing at that. It's 2d6 minus 1, and then halved. So the first battery got a 6.
So it's minus 1.
Yeah, so 6, which is 5, which is 1 hit, which is halved. So it's a 4, 5, or 6. It's a hit. That's. How do you get a cock there? That's bizarre. Okay, so that's 1. And then the other battery, minus 1. That's 6 again, 5, so it's 1. And, yep, another 1. So that's 2 hits from the battery on the Garrison. So they're now up to...
Best I've done all day.
Yeah. And that is all my shooting. Because nothing else... It's only skirmish shooting, and the only ones that can fire volleys have been... They've already fired. So, we're over to your guys. Uh-huh. Okay, so we're over here. You can only see 3 inches in the woods. So my skirmishers can't shoot at yours, and your skirmishers can't shoot at mine. They're out of range, or my guys are behind a hill. The battery can't shoot at anyone because they're behind a hill. These skirmishers can't shoot at anyone, there's no one in range. Your Garrison can shoot. You've got 4 CDs from the Garrison. You can either fire all... Well, you drop 1 because you're shooting at skirmishers, so you could fire 3 at that skirmish screen, or 3 at this skirmish screen, or 2 and 1.
Any infantry in the way? Any formed infantry?
Nah, they're all behind skirmish screens.
Even the ones crossing the river?
Yeah, because there's a skirmish screen between them. So there they are.
In front of us.
And there's a skirmish screen there.
Right, the guys in front of us.
Yeah, skirmish screen in front of them. So they're shooting at skirmishers.
Yeah, can't shoot the artillery, can't reach them.
Nah, too far away. The gunners are over 12 inches away.
Yeah, and you kept all your other infantry.
Yeah, in the movement phase, I was carrying enough to sidestep and step back with these guys.
There's no infantry ready to go forward then. Okay.
Nah, they've also like they stepped back. Yeah, these guys in the movement phase stepped back. They went, well, let's get the hell out of there. So you can fire 3 this way, 3 that way, or 2 and 1, or whichever mix you want to do it.
4 at the skirmish base right in front of us.
Yeah, so you normally have 4, but you drop 1 because you're shooting at skirmishers. So that's 3. Yeah, and you rolled 2, 3, 2, so no hits there. That leaves your assault firing battery and the infantry. Yeah, the only infantry that can get a shot in is the 2nd Nassau here. Look, there they are. They can fire a volley.
Yeah, or pour a volley into the nearest unit in front of them.
Yeah, which will be these chaps here.
They've only got 1 hit on them, and make sure there's some decent bounce through, is there?
Well, infantry don't get bounced through, but artillery do.
Yeah, okay,
So what do you want to fire first? Do you want to do your assault fire with the battery, or do you want to do the volley fire with the line?
Assault fire first, so let's get the maximum bounce through, and
Yep.
probably the unit that I will be shooting at.
Okay, so
So I want to punish that 1 unit.
this is the units directly to their front, so you could shoot at them and you get bounced through onto these guys behind them. If you were...
The ones that are going to get musket shot?
It doesn't really... No, because these guys, this column is closer. So this guy here... Well, actually, they're both to their front. So, and they're both within... Are they in range? That's the trick. Are they in range? They...
The other one would be.
Yeah. That one's in range. I'll check the range. I think it's 12 for volley fire. It might be 9 inches.
That's
Skirmishes are 12, but I think volleys... close sort of volleys, 9. Okay, so they're 9.
So who's in range?
So it's only this column here. So they can shoot at the column because they're not hesitant. So they would fire. So when they fire, they'll fire at the column. So they'll get a CD. Or I'll check if they get a CD. I think they have to be within 3 to get CDs on a column or something. I don't know. I'll check. But anyway, so when these guys here fire, they'll fire at them through their skirmish screen. So whatever hits they get, the first one will go on the skirmishes and the rest will go through into them.
Your skirmish screen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then when the assault battery fire, when the battery fires on assault fire, 45 degrees, it could shoot at them, or it could shoot at them. Either way, if you shoot at them, you'll get bounced through onto them. If you shoot at them, you'll get bounced through it onto them. But they might be in canister range. I'll just check. If canister is 12 inches, then it'll be canister fire. So, yeah, it's close range, so it's canister. Now, because it's canister, you don't get bounced through because you're firing a shotgun top basic round. But the first hits will go on the skirmishes. But you still get your CD. You still get your 2 CDs.
Canister's only 2 CDs.
No. When you fire close range artillery, it's always canister. Yep. So they'll fire canister. Because they're on assault fire, they'll get 2 CDs. The difference is that you won't get any bounce through, but the first hit goes on the skirmishes. So instead of having the bounce through on these guys, the bounce through is on these guys. Whereas if you were firing round shot, the skirmishes don't stop it. It goes through them, but you get bounced through onto the people behind them. So in other words...
Yeah, so the round shot's pretty handy because you ignore the skirmishes.
That's right. That's right. But when you're... Well, yeah, whether you fire... When you do artillery assault, you always get 2 extra CDs.
Oh, is that what it gives you?
Yeah, 2 extra CDs. Well, but yeah, it's a 50-50 chance on each one of those dice that you'll cause a hit. So, yeah, so it's still pretty wicked.
Just looking at the sheets for firing.
Yep.
So battery at close range.
Yep.
7 or more can be quite lethal. So battery fire close range, is that counts as...
That's canister.
That's canister.
Yeah.
So it's quite devastating if you roll 8, 9, 10.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 2 CDs thrown in.
That's right.
So the Nassau unit.
Yeah.
It's got a musketry fire.
Yep.
It's got a... which one does it have to shoot?
Well, it's out of range of these guys, so it can't shoot them because they're over 9 inches away. Yep. So the only target they have is this column here. So they'll shoot them. So they will fire. So if we go through we'll do the infantry first. Okay, so they're an infantry. Yeah, so they're infantry firing over here. So they're nothing large or anything like that. So there's nothing to write home about there. So zip. Infantry column at 3 inches and firers are fresh. Well, I'm not at 3 inches.
Plus 1 CD.
Yeah, but that's if I was at 3 inches, but I'm not.
Are you at 3 inches?
No, I'm over 3 inches away. Like, a lot. It's about 6 inches.
Which one's just stopped outside of range?
These guys.
Which one's... Oh, yeah, but these guys are already shot.
Yeah, so you've got this unit here that hasn't fired yet, and they're at 8 inches. So they don't get a CD for shooting at them. Two dice, shooting at the column. So I'll use your dice. So don't blame me if it's bad. But it hasn't been bad so far. So oh, 9.
Oh, nice,
Yeah, 9's cool. Awesome. So
3 in a DT.
yeah, so 3 casualties on them, and a discipline test. Okay, so we'll do the 3 casualties. So that takes them up to 4. So they are no longer fresh. That hurt. And yeah, now discipline test, you do that immediately. So we go to the discipline test thingy here. I'm not elite, I'm veteran, so it's a +1. So none of them apply there. So it's +1. I'm not unformed. Casualties, it's a -1. So it's just a straight 2D, it's just a straight roll. 7+ I pass. Sorry. What is it? It's I need on 2d6. Yeah, 7+ I obey orders. 4 to 6 I go unformed.
Roll some dice.
Oh, 12. We loved it.
Oh, they love it.
We didn't care at all. Oh, so that's veterans for you. And it's worth noting that because I rolled a double 6 on the discipline test for these guys, they already had 1 casualty. They got 3. That took them up to 4. But because I rolled a double 6, I automatically recover 1 casualty on the destiny table. So they are up to 3. So rolling that double 6 for these guys was quite fortuitous. Fortuitous? It was lucky. Now that just leaves the battery. So it's now going to fire. So it's firing canister at the line. The red dice are your CDs, and your blue dice are just your normal dice. So you scored 6 plus 2 casualties on the CDs. So 6. Not 4 hits. You've got 5 and 1, which is 6. Okay, so that's the raw score for the battery shooting. Then
So that'll be 2 hits.
6 at close range artillery. Let's have a look here. Close range battery. 6. Yeah, it's 2, and then another 2 is 4. Yeah, so it's 4. 4 hits on this unit here, and that. Nah, well, they're not fresh. They're like, ow. Yeah. Oh, actually, it's 3 because the first hit goes on the skirmishes.
Yeah, it's canister.
That's right. So, yeah, it's still 3. Anyway, you dress it up, it's still 3. So, say again. Yeah, so your dice are rolling well.
There's always next turn.
That's right. So that's all the shooting done. So we've completed all the shooting. You've got a casualty on your battery. So we'll put a casualty on them. And that's all she wrote. So that's the shooting. There is no melee phase because they didn't go into melee. So now that ends turn 5 and we're up to turn 6. Beginning of turn 6, the Allies have the Brunswick Light Cavalry arriving, but Rowan has decided to keep them off the table. I guess he just doesn't want them piling up. So they're off the table. He has 6 ADCs. He achieved 3 because he rolled 5, 5, 6, and I rolled double 6 and then 4 1s. But because I got a double 6, I get an extra 1. So I've got 3 ADCs, and Rowan got 3 ADCs. Rowan gave all 3 to Saxe Weimar because he's got a artillery assault and a reroll. We rolled for our brigade ADCs to see if they, brigades to see if they would follow orders. They rolled a 2, then rolled a 1. So Saxe Weimar's brigade has gone hesitant at the worst possible time. Pax brigade is not hesitant. The Brunswick Light Infantry is not hesitant. The Dutch Belgians are not hesitant. Merlin's cavalry is not hesitant. Oh, the Brunswick line went hesitant again. So there was a grand total of -2 for Rowan. I rolled a 4 for Jerome, so he's not hesitant. I rolled a 5 for Wathiers, and he's not hesitant. I rolled a 3 for Hubert, not hesitant. Soy, a 6, he never lets me down, not hesitant. Campy went hesitant. Brachul went hesitant, but the battery didn't. So we then rolled our dice to see which side would have the initiative. We both had a -2, and I rolled a net 6, and Rowan rolled a net 4. So the French retained the initiative. And we both have 2 hesitant brigades. So now we entered the charge phase. And initially I thought that the 2 battalions indicated here could charge again, but they were unformed. So they would not be able to charge. So no supported charges, no charges from them. So, yeah, I'm going to move those bases back because if you're unformed, you can't charge. And so they charged in the last turn. So in this turn, turn 6, instead of charging, they had two options. They could either retire 12 inches and take a casualty, or they can simply reform on the spot. So, yeah, I'll sort these out, move them back, and then we'll carry on from there. So in the upcoming move phase, you'll see them there, but at the end of the move phase, I'll disengage those units, I'll move them back, and that will be the conclusion of the move phase. All right. All right, movement. So the French have the initiative, so the French will move first. Okay, so a little bit of tidying up. At the conclusion of the French movement phase, this unit here that had charged earlier in the last turn, in this turn are just simply going to reform. And the battalion that was here, they're going to retire 12 inches. They'll take an extra casualty, so they've gone up from 1 to 2. and they're back here unformed. So, yeah, and that concludes the French move phase. So now we're up to the Allied move phase. But while we wait for Rowan to contact us so we can get his movements done, we'll just do a recap just so we can see everything is, where everything is. So, yep, Jerome Bonaparte's brigade here, they're on infantry assault. We have 1 battalion here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's his 6 battalions. Soy's brigade, consisting of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 3 battalions here, 1, 2, 3. They're the 1st regiment, they're classed as grenadiers, and then you have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battalions of the 2nd regiment. This is the one that's unformed. This is the one that came from here through this gap, and then is now basically in a mob back there, unformed, with their 2 casualties on them. Wathier's lancers and their horse artillery. Hubert's chasseurs, including the 1st Hussars and the 6th Chasseurs. The 1st Hussars are classed as grenadiers. And then, of course, we have Campy's brigade and Bachou's brigades. Both of those brigades are hesitant at the moment. And then the French artillery on the hill. Okay. For the Allies, they have Brilliant's Belgians, Dutch Belgians here, the Brunswick Light Infantry Brigade, Brilliant's Battery, the Prince of Orange, Pax Brigade, all veterans, Saxe-Weimar's Brigade, they're hesitant, and the Brunswick Line Infantry, hesitant, and the Hussars and the Light Dragoons from Merlin's Brigade. Okay, and that is basically where we're at. Now we just have to wait for Rowan to give me some directions in regards to his troops' movements, and then we'll go into the firing phase.
Screwed up the shooting into the...
Yeah, but I can't...
Do you want to add another cash to my... add another casual to my Jaegers in the thing, because you'd have at least done another one, I reckon.
Seriously, nah. And the other thing, someone said that if you don't score a hit on a column, then you don't get any bounce throughs. But I read through the rules, and I can't see anything that says if you don't get a hit, because the very idea of bounce through is the fact that when you, and I do know a little bit about this.
It didn't play on to 50.
Yeah, what it did is the rounds could easily either hit well in front of the battalion, skipped clean over them, and then crashed into the battalion behind.
Yeah, so physics and reality say, well...
Yeah, well, my experience and my readings on the subject, and having been a master gunner, suggests that it is quite possible that... And a casualty doesn't necessarily mean a certain number of people have been hit. I mean, it could well have been that the round shot did go through this unit, but it struck it close to the rear, killed 2 or 3 guys back here, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the rounds...
Could have 5 feet in front of the front rank, and then popped right over their heads.
Yeah. And plowed in the guys behind them. Yeah. Well, because you've got to remember, all the movement and firing is sort of like happening simultaneously. These guys have gone into a slight dip in the ground. As a consequence, the rounds basically, the bounce was a little bit higher than expected and has gone clear over them and plowed into the guys behind. So I'm going to leave that casualty there simply for the fact that's the way we've been playing it, and I don't want to change it yet.
That's how the rules, and the rules don't say specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it could, but I haven't noticed it. So we'll just leave it there.
I think that's more of a Games Workshop thing. I think I remember vaguely from Fantasy Battle that's a Games Workshop thing. Yeah.
All right, so your movement. So if you start...
The French are reorganising themselves.
Yeah, pretty much. These guys, now the only thing that's probably worth noting is this battalion's moved up over to here. Now, so it's flanking your guns.
Yeah.
Now, you just need to be aware of it. Now, the thing is, in your shooting phase, which will be next, you can shoot. There's no priority in regards to the front or to the side. You can choose. However, the priority is, first of all, if you're being charged, you have to shoot at the charger. So that don't count. Next of all, it's the next closest. The next closest is these guys, the guys to the front.
I'm hesitant, so yeah, I'm hesitant, and I have to shoot straight ahead anyway.
Oh, that's true. You're hesitant, so you have to shoot directly to your front.
Straight ahead, guys. So whoever they are,
yeah,
they'll get artillery assaulted. So that's just the way it works.
Well, yeah, they'll get a shot on them. They won't get artillery assault because they're hesitant.
Oh, do you lose that on hesitant?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, no, hang on. Those guys had a reroll, so they were fine.
No, you rolled a 2 and then they rolled a 1, so they're hesitant.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, then I lost the artillery assault then.
Yeah. So they don't have artillery assault and they can only fire straight ahead.
But hey, get them big drops.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, that happened at the worst possible time when the enemy is so close to you. That's when they went hesitant. It kind of makes sense, actually. but
They've got roll as well.
Yeah. So, all right. So you got your movement. Where do you want to start? Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll just talk about Rowan's movement. You would have hopefully heard some of it. But anyway, so over here, the Dutch Belgians sidestepped and obliqued. The Brunswickers advanced to the stream, but they're not within skirmishing fire range of the Allies, the French. The battery prolonged. The light dragoons have moved 15 inches to this point here. These two Brunswick battalions are angling towards trying to link up with the strong point. The British, the 44th and the 1st Royal Scots have moved up to support the Nassau, or to cover the Nassau's flank, and the two Highland regiments have basically sidestepped and obliqued to get in, try to get in behind these two battalions here to offer support. And that's pretty much it for all the movement. The Brunswickers on the hill at Quatre Bras over here. They're just, well, they're hesitant, so they're just sitting there. So now we're going to go into the shooting phase. The shooting phase. We're going to root, toot, shoot, and electrocute. That's right. So I'll just start with the skirmish screen here, shooting at your battery. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 3 skirmish dice. I drop. Let's see. Skirmishes. Nah, it's just for. It's just target the skirmishes. Nah, when you're shooting at the battery, you don't drop any dice. That makes sense actually, because the gunners are going to be busy working the guns. So the skirmishes are not like they're being shot at by infantry or anything like that. All right, so there's yep, four base, 3 bases, so they roll 3 dice. Okay, and
3 bases.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So let's see how many we get. Ooh, double 6. So it's 2 hits and a discipline check. So yeah, so they got to do a discipline check, so that has to be done immediately. Fortunately, they're classed as just normal guys. They've got no minuses, so it's just a straight dice roll. Oh, shit. They've rolled a 3.
Oh, geez, God.
Yeah, I know. That's good shooting from those guys. Well, fortunate shooting.
Double 6 and then
Yeah.
a 3.
So a 3...
What happens to this on a 3?
Well, let's have a look. A 3 is... Oh, geez. Come here. They retreat and lose 1 D3 casualties. So retreat, which is for... Yeah, so they've just gone, we've had enough of this. Artillery retreating, so it's foot artillery. So they, let's have a look here. Retreat moves. Foot artillery as infantry. So 12 inches straight back. I'm assuming they take their guns with them, so they'd limber them. And they go, right, It's getting hairy here, boys. And they would go 12 inches back, which is down the road, basically. So they've basically moved back into Quatre Bras. And they take another... They take D3 hits. So 1 and 2 is 1 hit. 2 and 3... 3 and 4 is 2 hits. 5 and 6 is 3 hits. Oh, jeez. 6.
You're doing... oh, God. So they're pretty naked now, are they?
Well, they're worn. That's all.
It's not bad for some skirmish shooting to shoot up the guns and...
Yeah. Tell me about it. Okay, so that's the skirmishes done. Then I got 3 skirmishes here shooting at the line. So it's just 3d6 shooting at the line. Nothing. Yeah, no hits. I've got a column here that could shoot, but I don't want to do that because no one might. Well, if they roll low, they could go into fire discipline. And best case scenario, well, yeah, this column could shoot too. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to risk it.
All right.
Yeah. So it's they're a column firing, so it's an inferior volley, and then I halve whatever casualties I cause.
Yeah.
Okay, I rolled a 7, So a 7, I think, is 1 hit. Firing.
Goes to half.
Let's have a look. Inferior volley. Roll a 7, 1. So I've got to roll. It's a 4, 5, or a 6, and it is a hit. 6. So 1 hit. So they got 1 hit on these. Yeah. See. So I rolled a 6. So it goes up. So I get 1 hit, but it's halved because I'm a column. And so then I have to roll, and if I roll a 1, 2, or 3, you ignore it. If I roll a 4, 5, or 6, it's actually a hit. Because you can't place half hits on, so you have to roll up and down. So the idea is that they average out over time. So that one. Now this battalion will shoot same as before. It's a bit of a risk, but I'll do it. 6. Is it 6 a hit? Inferior volley rolls a 6. 1 hit. All right.
Might not be. Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, 6 is a hit. It's 1 hit, but I have to. It's halved, so I got to roll again. 4, 5, or 6. It's a hit. Okay, that's a hit.
Your dice are doing good today.
I am. So these guys are now.
So far, your dice are doing pretty good.
Yeah. So those guys are worn now. So they're fired. And then I've just got 2 skirmish bases here. So that's just 2 dice at your British.
Okay.
5, 1 hit. I'll just check if 2 skirmish bases 2 actually. Oh yeah, 2 skirmish bases, 2 CD. So 1 hit on the Royal Scots.
Right.
All right. Let me just get a casualty guy.
Good shooting from the French so far.
Yeah, so far I can't complain about my shooting. It's been pretty good. There's no other way to describe it. It's been good. So just 1 hit on the Royal Scots, but hey, they're veterans. They don't give a shit. Okay, I got 3. So there's 2 from there, and now I've got 4 over here shooting into the built-up area. So it's 4. Yeah, I lose 2 CD. So normally 4 skirmish bases will give me 3 dice, I'm pretty sure. Yep. So I'm down to 1. So it's 1 from that skirmish screen there. And then I'll also do 1 from the skirmish screen in front. So there's 2 skirmish screens shooting in. So a grand total of 2 dice.
2 CDs, roll your dice.
Yeah, 1 hit. I got a 6 and a 4.
A large unit, yep.
Yeah, so that's another hit on those guys.
Don't have to warn you because they're a large unit.
I'll check in a minute. So that's the skirmish, and then the last shooting I've got is the 2 batteries on the hill. So they both fire, and they both -1. So battery's effective range, you're in a cover, so it's a -1.
Well, more than cover.
Yeah, strong point, but strong
Yeah,
points. Strong points in garrisons. Oh, no. Yeah, and then the casualties are halved. Yeah, so it's 2d6 -1, then halved. So the first battery, wow, okay, 11.
Jesus.
But they ignore discipline tests. That's the good news for garrisons. So, well, 11 isn't it? It becomes a 10. Well, 10 to 11, okay. Effective batteries, 10 is 3 hits and a discipline test.
Christ.
But no discipline test.
Shooting's pretty good.
Yeah, but they ignore the discipline test. So that's 1 battery, so that's 3. So that takes them up to 4. So they're up to 8 now. And now,
French are shooting the crap out of us.
yeah, and now the other battery will fire -1. That's a cock die.
Yep.
Oh, 10 again. So now
Nine?
it's 9. So that'll be probably 9 is effective battery, 2 hits. So that's halved. So
Yeah, because all your hits are hard.
that's right. So now they're at 8. Yeah. So 3 from the artillery and 1 from the skirmishers. So they've now got a total of 8 on them.
Jesus.
But they're a large battalion, so at least they got that going for them. And that's all my shooting done.
Crikey, that was pretty effective with your guns.
Yeah, shooting phase now.
Well, my to shoot nothing because they ran away.
Yeah. Well, they didn't run away. They went, this is a mugs game. We've got to get out of here, boys. We're getting the shit shot out of us. So gunners don't run away. Gunners redeploy briskly.
To the rear.
I told him to never run away. All right. So, your guys, let's have a look here. You've got a volley. If you work from all the way, from left to right, first of all, you've got the Nassaus. So they have 2 targets directly to their front.
Yeah.
So you can,
Equally as banked up as the other.
Yeah. They've both got 3 hits on them. So basically, because you're hesitant, you've got to fire directly to the front. So it'll be half hits will go on this or half hits will go on that. So you
at this point in time was rather terrible.
Yeah. You'll fire a standard volley, but it means it's going directly to the front.
Okay, so which one do I pin it?
Well, you pick which one you want as the priority, but then you have to share the hits because they're both directly to the front. Say again? Yeah, you have to because you're hesitant. You have to fire directly to your front, and there's 2 units directly to your front.
Well, that's particularly bad timing.
You can't because these guys would have to angle that way to shoot.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So they fly directly to their front.
Roll some dice and see what we get.
All right. So it's just a standard volley. There's a skirmish screen, so it just means the first hit goes on the skirmish screen. All right. What an interesting round of shooting we've had. Let's start with the French shooting first. These skirmishers fired. They drove off they caused, they rolled 6 with their 3 dice, which resulted in the battery taking 2 hits. But because it was a 6, a discipline test, they then rolled a 3. So this battery limbered up and the foot battery retired. The skirmishers fired here, did nothing. Over yonder, these 2 battalions fired inferior volleys, and they caused all up to 2 hits here. So these guys now are classed as recruits because they've suffered 4 hits. The skirmishers fired here, caused 1 hit on the Royal Scots. For the French, the good shooting, though, was from the battery. They rolled an 11 and a 10. Even though they halved their casualties, they still caused 3 casualties here. And then there was an additional casualty from the skirmishers. So the garrison's now up to 4 casualties. And that was it for the French shooting. Then the Allies fired. They fired here, scored a 3. They lost fire discipline. These guys then fired and rolled 12. And even though it was an inferior volley, they caused, I think it was 3 or 4 hits here, but it was also resulted in a destiny table roll, which resulted in a 12 being rolled, and Jerome has bitten the dust. So Jerome Bonaparte is no more. He is dead, and the brigade, as a consequence, is faltering. So he was obviously popular with the boys. The combined fire of the strong point and these chaps here removed 1 base of skirmishers. And that's it. Both of these battalions fired, and they both lost fire discipline because they were firing inferior volleys, even though they're veteran infantry. Because they moved, they fired an inferior volley, and it was a 3 and a 3, or 3 and a 4. So, yeah. So that ends the firing, and that ends the turn. So we've ended turn 6, and we're now moving on to turn 7. And it's the situation's quite interesting because now Jerome's brigade is faltering, Hopefully they'll come good. Yeah, well, it's all just going off, guys. It's turn 7. The French have got 3 out of 6 ADCs, not good. And the Allies have got 5 out of 7 ADCs. So the French must allocate 1 to Jerome's brigade because Jerome is no more. Maybe he's just been severely wounded. Who knows? And then that will leave the French with effectively just 2 ADCs to put to use. So 1 ADC was given to Jerome's brigade for a reroll. 1 ADC was given to Soy's brigade, and the other ADC that the French had was tasked to Jerome's brigade to shore up morale. So that was all 3 of the ADCs used for the French. Consequently, we rolled all but 1 of the French brigades obeyed orders, which was Brachul's brigade in the woods. They went hesitant again. The ADC for Soy's brigade wasn't required. He rolled a 6 anyway. We then rolled on the faltering brigade table for Jerome, and they rolled a 1, which was pretty bad. So fortunately, they had the ADC. They re-rolled, and they got a 2. Still not great. It was a retire. Basically, every battalion had to retire 18 inches. They lost 1 full base from the skirmish screen, and 1 casualty was inflicted on each battalion, with stragglers running off. The battery had to retire 18 inches, and then it went low on ammo. But at least the ADC wasn't lost, and at least the skirmish screen didn't disperse. So, yeah, that's war for you, man. You know, the brigade commander gets hit, and suddenly panic just whips through the brigade, and everyone just retires. The fortunes of war. I have read on some of the forums, some people think this is a little bit over the top, but I'm quite fine with it. And I think you can look at some clearly historical examples of these things happening where suddenly panic just grips even good quality troops. Reynolds at Gettysburg, for example, is a good example of what can happen when a big man, when a leader is knocked down. So anyway, we did the retire move. We rolled for all the Allied brigades. They had no brigades. They had 1 brigade go hesitant, which was Pack's brigade. So it went hesitant. So then we rolled for Army Initiative, and Rowan rolled Cat's Eyes, and the French rolled 9. So despite the fact that Jerome's brigade has retired, the French are still holding the initiative. So let's see what happens next. Okay, so we've done the retire move for the French, for Jerome's brigade. They're still back there faltering, but now Jerome is no more, but another guy stepped up. So we have another brigade commander there. Okay, so now we have a look around us, and the next thing that comes up is charge decks. And as we can see, the situation from the Allies, the only hesitant brigade is Pax. Okay, so charge declarations. Do the French have any charge declarations? Sorely tempted. sorely tempted, and I think we will. The French will launch a charge with this battalion here. So that's a battalion from the 72nd line. They're just regular infantry. So they're gonna chance their arm. They'll lose the combat dice going in, but these guys in the strong point will also lose the combat dice. If nothing else, hopefully they'll attrit them and wear them down a bit. And then, yeah, let's see what we can do here. Okay, so we've got a 12-inch charge range, but they'll just do their initial, well, basically they charge within 3 inches. The garrison reacts. Now, the way the garrison reacts is they'll fire with 3 shooting dice. Now, normally they'd have 4, but they've got 8 casualties on them now, so they're going to drop 1. So their reaction is shooting with 3 dice. So let's get these suckers blazing away. So we'll use Roland's dice because, hey, why not? Hitting on 5s and 6s because they're skirmishers. 1 hit. So a 4, 3 and a 5. So they take 1 hit going in. And so, bang, they're there. They have 1 casualty on them. So now, charging the strong points, you don't have to go through the charge phase, you just simply move into contact. So there will be a melee, obviously. So that's that done. And so are there any other charges? Well, I'm thinking it is time for Hubert to show what he's made out of. So Hubert is going to declare a charge as well. So Hubert's chasseurs will charge these guys here. Okay, so the charge range for cavalry. Cavalry charge distance, okay, cavalry is 15, and the charge bonus for cavalry is an additional 6 inches, so 21. So that's 18. So yep, they'll make it. So they'll move to within 3 inches. So if the infantry are going to fold on us, we're going to do a Kellerman. We will throw our cavalry in. So, and Hubert's attaching himself because, hey, why wouldn't you? And yeah, that's how we roll. So that's the charges. Now we have to go through the charge process here. Let's work that out. So the first thing that needs to happen is these are infantry in line being charged by cavalry, so they have to do a discipline test. All right. So these chaps here have to do a discipline test. Now, they have 4 casualties, so they're no longer classed as reservists, they're now recruits. So let's have a look what's working against those chaps. So a discipline test for them. They're recruits. So it's a -1. They have casualties on them of 4, so it's a -2. So
actually, there is another -1. It's for line to square when charged. So that should be a -3.
Oh, okay. So they've rolled a 5. -2 is 3. Those guys are not going to stand, so they will break. Okay, so they rolled a 5. It's a -2 down to 3. So they'll retreat, which means that Hubert can then charge onto any target that's within reach. So I'll measure that battalion to the rear, or even the Brits, conceivably could be charged. I think they will, if they're within 6 inches, basically. Yeah, so we'll have to decide which one they charge onto. My preference would be to charge onto the British, who have lost fire discipline along here, because if I can bust up this brigade and that brigade, I'll punch a hole through the centre. So that's interesting. So yeah, let's have a look to see how that pans out. Of course, they got a retreat result. They have to they go back 6 inches initially, and then another 6 inches. But the initial 6 inches, they have to go through. They'll burst through friends. So these guys are going to go straight back. They'll burst through them and through them, which will cause both of these units to become unformed. They then go an additional 6 inches, which will put them behind these guys here. There is a gap there, so it says a gap, so that's where they're going to go. So let's put them back here. They're unformed. They take 1d3 casualties because they retreated. So let's see how many casualties that is. 1d3. 1. So they're up to 5 casualties. These guys move on and take the ground. And then can continue on to anything else which is in reach. With the Hubert leading the way. And it should also be remembered that the Nassau unit that was directly to the left of the Nassaus that were charged, they have to retire. So the Nassaus that retreat, the ones to their left, they retire. And so that's where they are now. As you can see, they've retired back there. The Hussars can charge on to the next unit. As a consequence, these guys here get to... they're now being charged. Now, because the charge has gone from the guys in front of them to them, they don't have time to react. So their only option is to stand in line and they will fire. So they'll fire an inferior volley because they're now unformed, because they've been burst through or passed through by their mates. But they are a large unit, so they will get a casualty dice. So their reaction will be to stand and fire, and then we'll see what happens. So it's a large unit firing. They get 1 casualty dice. Let's see what they get. So 8. So 1 hit on the casualty dice, and what's the word I'm looking for? Inferior volley on an 8. Let's see what that translates to. They'll have a couple of minuses, actually, because they're unformed, I think. I don't know. I'll check. So it was, they rolled an 8, inferior volley, so that's an 8, but they are unformed, so it's another -2. So that's a 6. A 6 on an inferior volley table is 1. So there'll be 1 hit on them, and then they have to share the hits because the supports are coming in. So it'll be 1 hit. So 1 hit and 1 hit. So that's that. And now we do the rest of the charge procedure. Okay, so let's go through the procedure here. The Hussars are classed as as grenadiers, but that only helps them for what's the word I'm looking for? Discipline tests. But they do have their general attached, so that will elevate them to the status of veterans. So they're veterans, so that's a +1. They're charging on, so it's a +2. They're campaign cavalry, so it's a -1. So it's a +1 all up so far for them. The Nassaus, they are line, so that's a 0. Is the general going to attach? Let's just dice for it. 50-50, I think. Well, a 5 or a 6 and he'll attach. No, he rolled a 3, so he's not going to attach. Sax Weimar's not attaching. Okay. So far they're just a 0. They're unformed, so it's a -2. Infantry in column or square versus... No, infantry in line, it's another... No. So they've got a -4 so far. And that's it. So they're a -4, and the French are a +1. Okay, so let's roll and see what happens here. Okay, so the French are the black dice. Okay. So that's a 2. They have no supports. They can't re-roll any of them. The French don't want to re-roll. So that's a result of 9 to 2. It's a difference of 7. So it's 6+ infantry versus... cavalry versus infantry. Cavalry victory, 1 casualty, defender ridden down. Okay, so those poor guys have been wiped out. Okay, so they can charge on because the original charge on actually wasn't a charge on. Basically what happened is they charged the line, they retreated, the other guys retired. So they were continuing with their initial charge, which struck them. They've blown through them, so they get a charge on, which means they get to go another 3d6 inches straight ahead. Okay, so they can go another 11 inches. Okay, so guess what? I guess it's the Scots Greys. Now, sorry, the Black Watch. Now these guys, they're at 6 inches. So yeah, bang on 6 inches. So I'll have to check to see if they're... I don't think they can react either. I think the best they can do is just fire. So they will... they're a hesitant brigade, so they will fire a inferior volley. And basically, we just go through the whole charge procedure again. So let's just check out this charge now. So now the Black Watch are receiving the charge. These guys will move up to within 3. After riding down the Nassaus, they burst through them. They're charging on. The Black Watch, what they'll do is they'll fire a superior volley. There's nothing, you know, they're hesitant, so they have to fire straight ahead, but that doesn't mean that their shooting is necessarily garbage. So they will get to fire, but they won't get to form square. The charge started too close for them to be able to form square. So this volley is going to be really important to stopping this charge. All right. Let's see what they roll first, and then we'll go through the modifiers. 6. Okay, superior volley, 6. Let's see if there's any modifiers for that. So 6 is 2 hits. There are no modifiers, so that'll be 1 and 1. Again, not enough to really be any concern. So that's where we're at, and then we will do the melee phase. Oh, sorry, we do the charge resolution. We'll do the cavalry again. Like I said, they're line, but the general's attached, so it takes them up to the next morale grade. So they're veterans. they're charging on, so another +1. So +2 all up so far. And the Black Watch, the only one they have against them is infantry in line versus cavalry. So it's a -2. Oh, they are veterans, so it's a -1. No casualties in the charge worth talking about. Brigade is hesitant, so that's another -1. So the Black Watch have a +1 for veteran, but a total of -3, so they're at a -2. And another minus that works against these chaps is their campaign cavalry. So there's a -1 for being campaign cavalry for the Hussars here as well. Watch will be at -2. I'll roll that one again. They've got a 1 and a 4. So they're a grand total of 5. Okay, and the cavalry. Oh my God, 12. All right, that is going to be something spectacular. Well, the Gordons can re-roll the 1 because they've got the Black Watch to their flank. So they'll re-roll the 1. See if they can improve on that. So it'll be 4 plus whatever we roll here, -2. Okay, 4 plus 4 is 8, -2 is 6. 6 versus 12, the difference is still 6. Not good. Now we have the little matter of the double 6 that the French rolled for a Destiny table roll. So that's a roll on the Destiny table. Let's see how this turns out. A 7 on the Destiny table. Discipline, recover 1 casualty or reform, change formation wheel or melee with the land. Well, cover a casualty. So they'll take that one off. These guys will go up to 2. Okay, so it wasn't the Black Watch. I was calling these chaps the Black Watch. They were the Gordons. So the Gordons have been written down. Because they rolled an 11 for their charge on, that means they still have movement left. Just on that, when I initially rolled the extra charge on move, I rolled 3d6. For cavalry, it's actually 5d6. And so the actual charge on range is 17, not 11, because I rolled another 2 dice and I got a 4 and a 2. So they've actually got a charge on range of 17, by the by. And they can continue their charge. So now they're going to move on to these guys. Now these guys, again, all they can do is fire a ragged volley or an inferior volley because they're unformed. But that's all they can do. They can't form a square. They're being charged too close. Furthermore, they've already moved to get back to here, so they've retired. So they'll be shooting an inferior volley with a -2 for being unformed. And then we'll go through the charge process again. So they fired a volley. It was an inferior volley. They rolled a 7, -2, which is inferior volley. 7 -2 is 5. Which is a 5 discipline result, no casualties. But they're not recruits, so it's just a no casualties. They are a large battalion, however, so they do get a casualty dice. And on that, they rolled a 4, so they did inflict 1 casualty. So now we'll move on to the charge resolution. Let's see how that works out. Okay, so they're line cavalry, but the general's attached, so they upgrade to the next phase, troop quality, so they're classed as veterans. Charging on. So it's +2, but they are campaign cavalry, so it's +1 all up. They're not unformed, but the infantry are. So casualties in charge, they only received 1, so that doesn't count. They're not at 4 yet, still only at 3, thanks to the Destiny roll. And they're not hesitant or anything like that. So they are at a +1 again. Let's have a look at these other guys. They're line, because they haven't sustained any casualties. So 0. Unformed, -2. Infantry in line versus cavalry, another -2. So that's -4. -4. Okay, -4 to +1. And clearly, I've been drinking too much Kool-Aid because the -1 for campaign cavalry only applies if it's campaign cavalry fighting battle cavalry or heavy cavalry. So I've been jipping myself a point. French are black again. Okay. The French will go up to 6. -4, they go down to 2. It's a difference of 4. 3 to 4. Attacker melee with elan, defender melee's unformed. No, that's cavalry. Cavalry melee with elan, defender melee unformed. So there's going to be a melee here. Or will there be? Because the French can re-roll one of their dice thanks to the support. Re-roll the 2, which they will. Oh, they've gone up to 9 now. So 9 versus, that's a difference of 7. Well, that support's come in handy because I was able to re-roll the 1 because of them. And so, bang, they get blown through again. And so ends the movement. They can't go any further. These guys are ridden down, so they'll take the ground and end up here. So they've that's a victory result. They've come up here, they pick up another casualty, and so this is where they are. That is a pretty amazing charge. They've basically come through here, burst through one battalion, well, caused one battalion to rout, hit a Nassau battalion, blew through that, hit the Gordons, blew through them, moved on to an unformed Nassau battalion, blew them away, and now they're just standing around on their horses, pretty blown. And worn because they've got 4 casualties, but that was impressive. Some really, really seriously good rolling. Now we'll move on to the movement phase. So in short, that was a pretty devastating charge by Hubert's. Let's go over it again. Basically started back here, charged these recruits. They retreated and their supports retired. That unformed the next line of Nassau's. They got hit, ridden down. They then charged on. They hit the Gordons. They were ridden down. And so that is now where the French cavalry is. The Gordons are faltering. And the Pax Brigade is now faltering because they've had a unit ridden down. And the Nassau Brigade under Saxe-Weimar are also faltering. So, in short, that is a devastating round of charging from the French. There are no more charges, so it's now going on to the movement phase. Let's start with Brachul's brigade. They can't advance towards the enemy because they're hesitant, but they can change formations and the like, so they'll do that. They'll form line in the woods. That's them done. My skirmishers won't advance on the Brunswickers at this stage. And the rest of these guys are quite happy where they are. Might form a line behind this hill here. Okay. Campy's brigade movement. Well, these guys will move up 9 inches to there. They're coming up in support. Not that they'll be able to add support. It's a strong point, but hey. This battalion's going to come straight down the road 9 inches. Because, hey, why not? maybe a little bit less. Skirmishers can move, yep. They're going to move off that way. 9 inches here also. And these guys will move off the hill. So that's the movement for Campy's brigade. The artillery, what to do with them? Time to limber up, I think. So let's move Wathier's brigade, the Lancers. "15 inches for cavalry. So I could get them up onto this high ground here. I think I will. So they pick their way through this crush of horse artillery. So yes, that's Wathier's brigade coming up through this disorganised mass that is Jerome's brigade. Let's put Wathier's there. Right, yep. Well, we've already moved Jerome's brigade. That's all that leaves now is Soy's brigade. So Soy's brigade, the 2 lead battalions formed line, it's moved out, changed formation on the spot, changed formation. This battalion's moved up to here, 9 inches. This battalion just simply sidestepped, and the unformed battalion has spent the turn reforming. So that is all there is to be said about the French movement, and this is the situation at the end of the French movement phase. Now Allied movement. Okay, so let's go through what the Allied movement have done. Kemp's Brigade's come on, but we can't get them all on. We've moved the Highlanders into the BUA. It's only a small BUA, so it can only hold 1 battalion. And so we've put the Highlanders in here. On moving in, their class is unformed, so they'll be in there. These guys have come on in column. These guys came on column, then formed square. So they're a square here. The British artillery is off table. There's nowhere else for them to come on. So they're just trailing off this road here. And the 95th Rifles have deployed here 1 foot from there in skirmish order. So the 95th are coming up this way. This brigade's hesitant, so the Black Watch have formed square. These guys have already moved, so they can't do anything. The orders from Rowan was to try and support the built up the strong point, so they've skirmished forward, and yeah, they're going to skirmish. We've moved the Dutch Belgians up because we've got to create room. The Brunswickers have moved off here. The Hussars have moved to join their brigade commander. The brigade commander ordered these guys up, detached from that. Well, he wasn't attached to that anyway, but moved away from them to get in the command range of these guys to order the Hussars to come round. So that's Merlin's cavalry brigade there. And yeah, that's it. And obviously these Brunswickers are moving off here just to create space. They're just running out of room now. So that's all the movement. So now we go on to shooting. Okay, so the first shooting that we've got, this battalion here, they're not elite, they're not large, they don't have 4 casualties, they're not unformed, but they did move, so they have to use the inferior volley. Alright, so there's no pluses. So this battalion here will fire onto the 44th.
Okay, so that's 9. So an inferior volley on the 9. 2 DTs. So 2 casualties. And a discipline test. Okay, so they have to do that straight away. They're veterans, but they're unformed, so it's just a straight roll. Okay, so just a straight roll for these guys. Oh, 4. Well, they're already unformed, so they're unformed some more. All right, that's them done. Next volley, these guys here, they're going to shoot. So this unit can shoot at both the 44th and the 1st, so they'll have to split, but we'll designate the 44th as the main target. Inferior volley, 6 is 1 hit, so that will go onto that unit there, the 44th. That's their shooting. Okay, over there, skirmishers shooting at skirmishers. I've got 4 skirmish bases, that's 3 dice. I'm shooting at skirmishers, so it's down to 2. Hitting on 5s and 6s, 1 hit. So 1 hit on the avant-garde, and the enemy skirmishers are going to be shooting back at us, and so that's a large skirmish screen, but I can only see 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 4 dice, dropping 1. And 1, 2, 3, no hits. So, my skirmish screen here, shooting at this skirmish screen. 3 dice, dropping 1, that's 2. Ooh, 5 and 6, that's 2 hits. And they'll shoot back, dropping 1. 1 and 2, no hits. Shooting here, a superior volley into those guys. No pluses, no minuses. 5, a superior volley rolling 5. So 1 hit on these guys. And a inferior volley with the main target being these guys. With a -2 because they're unformed. Okay, so they've lost fire discipline. They formed a square. They'll shoot at these fellas here. Okay, so now the black watch are going to fire. They're going to fire at the cavalry. Okay, so they use an inferior volley and it's halved. So it's an inferior volley because they've moved, because they form square, and it's halved because you halve casualties when it's a square firing. Rolled 4, so that's nothing. Actually, 4, I think, an inferior volley, it's fire discipline. So they've lost fire discipline as well. So they're just blazing away. Okay, so an unformed garrison, it's normally 3 dice. Unformed garrison shots coming out of here. Well, the closest is these guys. 1 hit. So 1 hit on them. There's a square here, shooting at those guys. So there'll be an inferior volley, and and so this square's lost fire discipline as well. And that is all the shooting. So now we're up to melees. Okay, so let's go through this melee here. So first of all, let's look at these guys. The garrison, infantry, cavalry, okay, so they get 5 because they're the garrison. And I'm line infantry and I get 5. Okay. Elite infantry or elite cavalry? Nope. Heavy cavalry? Nope. Form lancers? Nope. Form large unit. They are large, so they get another dice. Attached general plus glory. Nope. Each morale grade above opponent. They're the same. Meleeing with a land. Nope. Casualties. Yes, they have 4 or 8, 10 if large. Well, they'll lose 1 because they're at 4+. No battery casualties because they're not battery. Neither are unformed. Attacking a BUA first round only. Attacking a strong point first, so I'm going to drop 1. Attacking redoubt or up steep slope. Attacking flank, artillery hit and flank. Okay, so that's it. So I've got 4 dice and they have got 5. Hitting on 4+. Okay, 1 hit. Hitting on 4+. 1 hit. So we both take 1 hit. So they go to 2. They go to 9. Okay, so it's a fight-on result, but neither of us get reinforcements. So it's exactly the same as before. 4 versus 5. So 4+. Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. 2. Well, the luck continues to go the French way. So 4 hits on these, that will take them up to 11. So, oh, actually, there's more than that. 4 hits will take them to 13. And 2 hits on these will take them up to 4. So it's a difference of 2. We're going to take the ground and the loser retreats. Okay. So the 27th Jaeger is thrown out. They retreat 18 inches. They don't take any additional casualties in a melee retreat. It's only the casualties they take in the hand-to-hand combat. So they've been thrown back. They'll go 18 inches as indicated by that red line. And so they'll pretty much end up down near where Saxe-Weimar is. That's all the melees. And so that ends turn 7. Turn 8 sees the arrival of Gouton's Cuirassier Brigade consisting of the 8th Cuirassiers and the 11th Cuirassiers. These are standard heavy veteran cavalry. What's worth noting here is the 8th Cuirassiers don't have breastplates, but they're still classed as heavy cavalry, and yeah, they're pretty mean. And there, of course, is the 8th Cuirassiers. So they've arrived just in the nick of time. Good cavalry. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the Cuirassiers. So 7 for the French. Okay, Duke of Brunswick, he's got a maximum, the Prince of Orange gets 7. But the light cavalry ADC's off table, so that'll be only on a 5 or 6. 3+ for these guys. 2, 3.
So that's almost 2 hours, guys. So we're going to wrap it up there. To be continued. Join us for the commencement of Turn 8 and this ongoing struggle for the Battle of Quatre Bras. Until then, like, share, subscribe. You know the drills. Ubiquay.